Hey everyone, this is Jason from Amphenol Audio. So far, we talked a lot about getting pedals mounted to your pedal board, but they're not going to do you a whole lot of good unless you actually get some audio cables running between them. So today, we're going to take the first step in looking at that, and we're going to look at a whole bunch of 1/4-inch connectors. As we look at each one, I'm going to give you 5 key pieces of information about each. 1, I'll give you the price for a single connector. 2, I'll give you the price for multiple connectors, meaning if you get a bulk discount if you buy like 10 or more. 3, I'm going to give you the weight. 4, I'll tell you the width, meaning how far away from the pedal the plug actually comes out. And 5, I'll give you the diameter of the hole where the cable goes in, so you know the maximum cable diameter that you could use with each particular plug. And to get most of those, I'm just going to use these simple calipers, and I'm going to use a simple kitchen scale for the weight. So with that, let's get started. First up is the Neutrik NP2RX, right angle, with a great bag that you can just tear right open. I really like the Neutrik stuff. They're pretty popular. They have a really good reputation for quality. You get 4 pieces. Obviously you have the plug part. Shield would go here. There's not a dedicated tab, but unlike some of the other ones where you'd actually solder the shield right to the large body, there is kind of just saying, well, there's a very large tab that's separate from the body. The good thing about that is you don't need a huge, powerful iron to solder on something like this. Even if you have a relatively low wattage iron, this should be fine. Big, large well for the tip on there. Like I said, you get 4 pieces. That's the popular 3-pronged built-in strain relief. And this is nice when you put this together. There's a really great positive fit. This actually, there's a groove here. This actually slides down on. Really firm. This will go on your cable first. This is the strain relief. Goes in this way. And then just screw it until the strain relief grabs down on the cable. The Rean NYS 207. Not the most popular brand, but actually made by Neutrik. You can say it's kind of their budget brand, although from what I understand, Neutrik doesn't really talk about them too much. Very weird design, bit of a weird shape. Big solder tab right here for the tip, for the shield. Again, separate piece of metal on that tab right there. So again, you should have no real problem putting the shield on there. And the inside body of this is actually pretty large. You can get quite a bit of cable up there. This is a standard crimp style strain relief. Plastic cover. Goes on like so. And screw on the end. Amphenol ACPM-RN. Three pieces. Oh, or is it 4? It is 4. 4 pieces out of the bag. Dedicated tip right here. Solder tab for the tip. And a small, not quite a tab, but a little prong here. You could put the shield underneath. Standard crimp style strain relief. They actually have a few ridges here on the bottom, which provide just a little bit more better strain relief than some of the other ones, as long as you don't mind those digging into the outer jacket of your cable. If you have a cable with a really thin jacket, I wouldn't cramp it down too hard. So looks like, and also insulator to go over the cable. And simple screw-on threaded barrel. Feed your insulator in, cable goes through this side, snugs up, and screws on there. Redco Audio HP-2CR. This is one of 2 right angle connectors they make. Again, with like the hexagonal outer body on there. Solder tab for the tip, and the sleeve, or the shield, just goes on this large tab here. Standard crimp style strain relief. Again, body would just screw on, and you get the insulator that goes over this part of the assembly here. G&H, also sometimes branded as Avatron, even though it says G&H right here. Really common, 3 pieces right out of the bag. Tab for the tip. Shield gets soldered right onto this long tab here, standard crimp style strain relief, and of course the insulator, which when you screw this down, you have to be careful that this doesn't kind of take off and go to the side and actually expose this positive connection, because you can actually short these out a little bit if this gets twisted out of the way. Typically when I build these, I'll solder everything on. Then when I put this down, I heat shrink over all of it just to make sure this stays in place, and then I screw this outer shield on. Okay. So put it together, that just fits down on there, screw it together, done. Switchcraft 226. Again, Switchcraft, great brand, great reliability, really good reputation. Switchcraft logo right there. Tab for your tip, shield gets soldered onto the large extended tab, standard crimp style strain relief, insulator jacket, which slides over that inner assembly, and a screw-on body. Pretty simple, been around forever. Very little to not like about them. The lava cable solderable. The bag, this wins for most components inside the bag, which there's 5. And the way you would do this is when you strip it back, you actually strip it back quite a ways. These sleeves go over the inner conductor of the cable. This small bit gets soldered on to the tip of the positive, and then it gets fed up inside the end of this, where I haven't built one of these, so I can't verify, but put it up and you literally hear a click, which lets you know that this is secure in there. And then when you put it together, your cable would just, you pull it out, drop it down at a right angle, and then you just screw the tip on. And again, the cable would come out from this small hole here. 2 things about this. 1, it's a very light connector, and 2, it's a very, very small connector. If you like the low profile or like the pancake style, you may like these. Again, lava, solderable. Switchcraft 228 connector. This is their pancake style right angle connector. Four pouches of the bag. You have the main plug, you have the backing plate, and 2 screws to put it together. Not really a tab, just a small hole there for your tip, and the shield will have to go onto the body. So again, like I said, a lot of these other ones that have a smaller tab or a dedicated tab for you to put the shield, this one's going to go onto the body, so you're going to need a pretty powerful iron to make sure that's heated up to get that good solder joint there. Once you get all that, simple matter of just putting those 2 on there and 2 screws, hold it together. Again, these things have been around forever, tons of them out there, and for good reason. They just kind of work, they're nice and sturdy, easy to put together. GLS Audio Pancake. 4 parts out of the bag. Very similar to the Switchcraft, but there's 2 dedicated solder tabs in there. One for the tip up here on the top, and then another one for the shield over here on the left. Now, of course, you don't have to use the tab. You could always just take the shield right to the body if you want, but you don't have to. It's just nice that it has a tab on there. And of course, the insulator that folds down over. Again, very similar to Switchcraft. That just fits on the back. 2 screws, put it together. No muss, no fuss. Easy to install. Lava cable 229. Very similar to the Switchcraft 228, allegedly made in partnership with them, I believe. With a few improvements, this, like the GLS, 2 dedicated solder tabs, one for the tip and one for the shield. You have your insulator over there, which just folds down over after you solder your cable on there. And then again, back goes on, and 2 screws, screw it together. Very similar to the GLS we just looked at. So anyway, that's the lava cable 229. Oh, one more thing. One thing that differentiates these a little bit is you can get them in, different colors. For example, it's not the whole plug, it's just the backing. Here's a black one. I think you can get in 5 different colors. If you have a really large rig and you want to use a little bit of color to help keep it organized, this may be a good choice for you. the Redco Audio TS-NL. We already looked at one Redco. This is just their pancake version. Take a look. Again, these are all very similar between the GLS, the Lava Cable 229, and this Redco TS-NL. They're all very similar. Slightly different body shapes. I'm not the exact same one, but again, very similar. This has two dedicated tabs on it, one for the positive and one for the sleeve there. Insulator folds down over, and again, just put the back on, 2 screws screw in, and that's it. Lastly, we have the Switchcraft 380. Not a right angle connector, but could be handy to use on your pedal board in case you need a straight plug, but you don't want a really long straight plug. For example, this is essentially just a 1/4 inch plug, a straight one with a short body. So this is a standard Switchcraft 1/4 inch straight connector, and this is the 380. So you see it's probably about a 1/2 inch shorter. So it just saves you like a little bit of depth in case you need a straight connector, but you want the smallest one possible. 3 parts out of the bag, very simple. 2 tabs, insulator, slides on, no strain relief, and screw on. Okay, let's look at an overview. Let's start with price. Now maybe you already have your mind made up and you have your favorite brands, or you already have a particular plug and you're happy with it, and that's fine. If you're starting from scratch, you don't know what you want, I would honestly say that with the exception of one of these, there's really no bad plugs here. All of these are going to do a good job for you. The only one I really didn't like was the Rean. I just thought it was like a little bit too cheap, especially that plastic outside cover, and then the tab on the one side was just really small, and I just thought it wouldn't take too much effort to break it off. So I didn't have a lot of confidence with that one, but honestly, all the other ones here, they're fine, and you really can't go wrong with any of them. Now, the difference between the each pricing and the bulk pricing, this is going to depend a little bit on where you get the prices, where you get which website you're going to get these from. Now, I got most of these at the cheapest place I could find, and plus I was kind of bought these along with a lot of other supplies that I was buying, so I kind of was able to distribute the shipping charges and all that kind of thing. But when you go shopping for these, by all means, go and find the cheapest price you can on these, but make sure you process this all the way up till you get your actual shipping costs, because you may be surprised. You may save 2 cents per connector on one website, but they're going to charge you an outrageous amount for shipping. So go to 2 or 3 different sites. Make sure when you process your shopping cart, go all the way up to your shipping charges and make sure you see how much it's actually going to cost you to get these to your door. Also, on the bulk quantities, there's a couple where you see there's an X. The G&H's, for example, I bought those on Amazon, and they pretty much only sell them in like 20 or 30 packs or something like that. So it's not like, at least on that particular marketplace, you're going to go in and find a vendor that's selling you one. Almost everyone was selling them in those packages of 20. The other exception here is the Lava Cable. They don't do bulk discounts on, I think, any of their products. However, usually 3, maybe 4 times a year, they do sales, if you get on their mailing list, anywhere between 25 and 40%. And they're almost always across the board. So if you're not in a hurry and you have a little bit of time to wait, you could always get on their mailing list and you could wait for a sale to come up, usually around the holidays, something like that. But, and again, this type of product, that's not really something that goes on sale on a regular basis. So normally if you need it, you just kind of have to suck it up, get the best price you can, and just go forward with it. Okay, same data, we're just sorting by the width column. And again, what the width is, if you take any of these plugs and you put it into pedal, how much of the plug is still sticking out of your pedal. Obviously, the pancake plugs at the top are the thinnest, and it goes to the non-pancake plugs at the bottom. And you know what you want here. Again, for me, there's no real advantage or disadvantage to using the pancake plugs or not. If you want the thin ones, then by all means go with them. And if it's not a priority for you, then there are plenty of other good options on the list. Once again, same data, we're just sorting by max cable diameter. And this is just telling you the maximum diameter of a cable that you can use with any particular plug. Now, again, you're going to see that the pancake plugs are at the top. Now, if you have your heart set on a cable that you want to use and it's 0.18, you don't worry about it. You want it to be a little bit snug with these pancake type connectors anyway, because they don't have that crimp tight strain relief where it doesn't really matter what size cable you feed into it. You're just going to bend those crimp tabs down around the cable until it's snug. You want to make sure it's a little bit snug with these pancakes. Typically, you're going to use a little thinner cable anyway in your pedal board that you would for, say, the cable coming out of your guitar to your amp, because you don't need that huge thick insulation on the outside to kind of protect the wires on the inside. So typically what you're going to end up doing with the pancakes anyways, your cable is going to be small enough that you actually want to put a piece of hinge shrink on the outside to increase the diameter so you do get that snug fit. So again, this is just out there for reference. If you already have a cable that you want to use, just use this as a reference to make sure that it's going to be at least somewhat close to the plug that you want. Okay, last time, same data. This time we're sorting by weight. Now, you probably don't think about weight so much when you think about your cables or your plugs or any of this kind of stuff. Maybe that's because you don't fly all the time with your gear. Maybe you have a smaller pedal board and you want to check this on the overhead, especially if you're in Europe where they have really brutal weight restrictions on your gear. So even if you look at this, you think, well, this is in ounces, okay? So almost all of these by themselves weigh less than an ounce, 16 ounces to a pound. So you think, well, even if I have a lot of these, I'm still talking about less than a pound. Well, you see that the very last column is weight times 20, so it's basically just 20 times whatever the per connector weight is. So if you look, the difference between the smallest or the lightest connector and the heaviest connector is only about 10 ounces, which is just, you know, a little bit more than half of a pound. But what if you had a larger board? What if you actually used, say, some type of switching system? So you actually need to use 4 plugs per pedal, and maybe all of a sudden you have 40. Now you're talking about a difference where you actually have a real pound between the lightest cable and the heaviest cable. Maybe this starts to add up. Maybe this matters to you, maybe it doesn't. I'm just saying, this data is here. This is something that the plug manufacturers generally don't talk about, how much they weigh. But if you really just need to shave a pound off your rig because you really want to get under some carry-on limit, maybe plug is, or even cable that goes along with it, is an area you hadn't looked at yet. So again, just one more piece of data for you to look at and try to make sure that the plugs you choose fit with your priorities. And that's it for the right angle plugs. Hope this was informative. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what's working for you. Do you have a plug that you love? Do you have something that you hate? Do you have a brand of plug that failed you during a big moment at a big gig? Let me know. The next video we're going to do is all about cables, and we're going to do it in the same way. I have a whole bunch of cable. We're going to look at them. We're going to look at the cores. We're going to look at the shields. We're going to look at the outsides. We're going to look at all the data points along these. Just want to try to get some good information out there so you can make a good decision on what you need for your rig. Till next time, take care.